Okay, silipin po natin ang check-in time natin. Ay medyo magaga, no? Alas 7. Alas 7. No. 8 minutos po, lumaktaw na. Pasado po alas 7 sa gabing ito mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Okay, ang check-in time natin sa programa po ng Consolidated News. Okay, sa gabing ito mga kababayan, no? Anong araw ngayon? Anong petsa ngayon? Okay, 15 Quincena. Okay, kaya maraming tao sa ATM. Okay, araw ng Lunes, gabi ng Lunes. Okay, mga suki-suki natin, no? Okay, binabati natin ang walang sawang nag-subaybay sa atin, no? Okay, good evening. Magandang umaga. Magandang gabi sa inyo. Okay, di umaga po mga suki, no? Pumasok sa isip ko ay umaga. Okay. Magandang gabi sa inyo. Universal greeting natin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Okay, diyan lang kayo mga suki, no? Okay, ang unang video natin, ang unang audio natin, itong mga stigma po ng mga kapwa natin, no? Okay. Ngayon po ay nagsipuntahan po sa bansang Turkey. Okay, yung may mga utak ba? Okay, may utak mga kapwa natin. Okay, nagsipuntahan po sa bansang Turkey. Parang gusto nila po ay ang manirahan doon mga suki, no? Okay? Yung mga Muslim na may mga utak, no? Kasi may statement po si President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Okay, ang tinuturing niyang problema ito ay pwede mangyari po ay pupunta ang mga drone kung talagang target ka diyan po sa yung mismo tahanan mga suki, no? Nakita niyo ng ang deputy leader ng Hamas. Diyan po nangyari si Al-Aruri, nangyari po sa bansang Lebanon. Okay? Lebanon mga suki, no? Tinarget po ng drone ng Israeli government pinamunuan ni Benjamin Netanyahu. Na target po yung si Aruri, no? Ayan. Hit talaga. Okay, sa pamagitan po ng drone. Okay, so ang mga yung mga katulad nila Aruri, okay, Salem Al-Aruri, no? Okay, Salem Al-Aruri. Pumupunta po diyan sa yung mga may mga utak. Okay, kumakalaban po sa bansang Kwan, no? Bansang Palestine. Okay, pakinig natin po itong boses po ng dalawang mga intellectual. Okay, sa kapwa natin, no? Okay. Ayan. So, tingnan natin po kung ano nga masasabi nila, no? Okay. Sige. Okay, mga Muslim lawyer. Okay. Muslim countries na sabi nila have failed to support South Africa's complaint to the International Court of Justice, no? Okay, totoo naman. Parang itong mga kuan natin, mga leader natin, hawak sa ilong po ng Western power, no? Ginaganon-ganon lang, ha? Diyan kayo. Okay. Kaya sinasabi ko, tapos na po ang leadership po ng Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, no? Tapos na yon. Yung apat na halipa, nila Omar, nila Abu Bakar, Usman, Ali, tapos na. Wala na. And then pumalit itong mga tinatawag mga monarchia. Napaka-corrupt po mga sinasabi natin ng totoo, no? Itong mga tao, itong napaka-corrupt po mga leader. Itong monarchical system of government. Okay, nakita nyo naman ng mga karangyaan nila. Okay. Yung pace of time, sunod-sunod yan. Okay? Sinasabi ko sa programa ko, no? Ang pace of time, mula doon kay Propeta Muhammad, peace be upon him, leadership. Tapos yung apat na katuwang niya, bilanggit ko na. And then ang third, itong mga corrupt, mga monarchical system of government, no? And then ang kasunod, pagdating ni Dajjal, Antichrist, darating yan, no? Sa sinasabi po ng may kinalaman po sa cycle of mundo natin, no? Dajjal darating. And then ang nakadedo kay Dajjal, yung ay sino ba? Si Imam Mahdi o si itong si Jesus alayhisalam, mga Prophet Jesus alayhisalam, kasi pupunta siya magsabi na siya ay hindi po Panginoon, mga suki, no? Okay, hindi Panginoon. Nagsabi siya, darating po sa Syria na siya po ay hindi Panginoon, mga suki, no? Hindi siya Panginoon. So, and then pagkatapos niyon, mag-lead, ng mahabang panahon, dekada, hindi natin kung ilang dekada, and then magunaw na po ang mundo, mga suki. Yun po ang the passage of time. Okay, kung mag-aral ka ng turo ng agama natin, yun po ang totoo, mga suki, no? Ayan. Kaya yung mga kalaban niyan ay talo po, mga suki, no? 101% ay talo. Okay, pagdating ng mga siglo na yon, hindi po sila makaligtas, mga suki, no? Kaya sinabi ko, ang magiging mapayapang Palestine, mararating nila po, mga suki. Pero hindi pa panahon ngayon. Mababa pa po ang level ng iman nila, mga suki, no? Napakababa pang level ng iman nila. Pagdating ng level ng iman na yon, wala na. Okay, mag-man-to-man encounter, wala pong matitira, mga suki, no? Okay, ang battle po ay man-to-man. Mararating yan po sa huling panahon, mga suki, mga kabat. Kung mataas na po ang level ng iman natin po, parehas, mga suki, no? Sinasabi ko na sa programa natin, para hindi na tayo magtataka. Yung mga kasalukuyan nangyari ay alam natin po sa passage of time, na talagang maraming mamamatay po sa mga siglo na ito, mga suki, no? Marami. Talagang yung mga mag-genocide yan ay talagang binigyan sila ng kapangyarihan po ay kumitil ng buhay po ng mga Palestino, mga kababayan, na. So pagdating noon na magkaisa tayo, wala na po, mga suki, no? Tapos na ang labanan po, mga suki, mga kababayan. T-shirt ko lang pala, no? Okay, bagong t-shirt ko. Nabili ko doon, na inutang ko po doon sa Mind of Global Food Lines, mga kababayan, na corporation, maganda. Ayan. So, yan sinasabi na natin ang passage of time, hindi tayo magkamalian mga suki, no? Pagdating ng araw, okay, ang level na yon naabot natin mga suki, no? Kung maniwala tayo sa agama natin, pwede tayo maniwala, wala yan. Okay. In chronological order po mga suki, no? From Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, leadership niya, and then 800, itong ilang year yon, and 100 year. Okay, yung mga apat na, okay, sugo niya, ni Abu Bakar, ni Usman, Ali Usman, okay, yon po, ay na-accomplish nila. No? And then pagkatapos so, yung marami pang mga leader, kasi umabot ng 800 years pang leadership ng Islam sa buong daigdig, no? Halos na-conquer po ang buong daigdig. Okay, sa katalinanuhan ng leadership, okay, pagdating ng Ottoman Empire, doon po, okay, na-polarize, okay, ang ng leadership ng Islam, no? So hanggang ngayon. So yan, pumalit ang yung mga
Turkey tomorrow, Qatar, or UAE or Saudi Arabia, who have been vocal to various degrees, they could trigger this genocide convention and get the ball rolling if they wanted to.
Yeah, I think it's important to say that.
Okay, kaya sabi ko sa buhay ko dito sa microphone nito, okay, kahit mamakitil ng buhay ko, wala nang problema. Mag-ihalas ako mga suki, no? Okay, basta sinasabi ko lang ang katotohanan. Wala akong problema rito. Okay, kahit anong mangyari sa buhay ko, ay tinanggap ko mga suki, no? Ang cycle ng buhay. Wala nang problema. Okay, 66 years old na ako mga kababayan, no? Importante lang makapagsabi ako ng totoo mga suki. Wala nang problema sa buhay ko. Ayan. So, okay? Ipagpatuloy natin, no?
In a time where we have 20,000 plus people die, right, in a matter of weeks, it is incumbent on states to stop dealing with this in just rhetoric, right? And I'm not taking away from, I'm sure many states are doing various things and thinking about it slowly, but it's really important for action, and that action has to come right now. There is no reason why a state can't do that now.
Why don't they?
Well, that's a good question.
Okay, kaya sinabi ko mga suki, hindi ako mital-mital mga kababayan, no? Malawak ang pagbasa ko. Okay, gabi-gabi po mga suki. No? Wala akong katigil-tigil pa magbasa ng mga kung ano-ano, no? Kaya nga, hindi ito mital-mital itong ulo ito. Ya Allah, hindi po mital-mital.
And I wish I could answer that. The only thing that I can say about it is that they should.
So, I mean, just to read in between the lines of Turkey tomorrow, Qatar, or UAE or Saudi Arabia, who have been vocal to various degrees, they could trigger this genocide convention and get the ball rolling if they wanted to.
Yeah, I think it's important to say that in a time where we have 20,000 plus people die, right, in a matter of weeks, it is incumbent on states to stop dealing with this in just rhetoric.
Okay, di ba sinabi ni Ahmad Didat bago siya sumakabilang buhay, tutulong tayo at saka hindi tutulong. Basta ang Islam ay manalo po mga kababayan. No? Sinabi rin ni Zakir Naik, no? Okay, tutulong tayo, nanginig ang mga balahibo ko, no? Tulong tayo ay hindi tulong, talagang manalo ang Islam, no? Ayan. Kung yun ang pagbasahan ng itong ang ginagawa po ni Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, no? So wala siyang awa, wala siyang pigil, okay, pagkitil po ng buhay ng mga inosente mga kababayan. Okay, talagang darating po mga suki, mga ganun po ang situation natin, no? Kasi parang ito mga biblical kuan na ang okay, sinasabi po ni Prime Minister Netanyahu sa mga pronouncement niya, no? Okay, so tayo mga Muslim, okay, mga agama, kailangan po ay aware tayo mga suki, no? Okay, itong mga ganito. Dapat ay aware tayo sa mga public statement po, okay, galing sa kanila, no? Okay, may karapatan tayo magdepensa, okay, sa ating sarili mga suki, no? Ayan. Malungkot ako sinasabi ko ito, pero ganun na nga. Kasi mga quote nila, mga biblical po mga kababayan, hindi na word order, wala na. Okay. Hindi na katulad noon na word order. Okay, nakisama tayo sa kanila. Paliwanag tayo sa mga word order, sa mga economic order, political order. Hindi na. Wala na. Palagay ko umabot na po sa maabot na po sa punto na ganun na talaga ang situation natin, no? Ayan. Okay. Okay, mga suki, no? Okay, pagpatuloy natin. Okay.
With this in just rhetoric, right? And I'm not taking away from, I'm sure many states are doing various things and thinking about it slowly. But it's really important for action, and that action has to come right now. There is no reason why a state can't do that now.
Why don't they?
Oh, that's a good question. And I wish I could answer that.
Really?
And the only thing that I can say about it is that they should.
So, I mean, just to read in between the lines of Turkey tomorrow, Qatar, or UAE or Saudi Arabia, who have been vocal to various degrees, they could trigger this genocide convention and get the ball rolling if they wanted to.
Yeah, I think it's important to say that in a time where we have 20,000 plus people die, right, in a matter of weeks, it is incumbent on states to stop dealing with this in just rhetoric, right? And I'm not taking away from, I'm sure many states are doing various things and thinking about it slowly, but it's really important for action, and that action has to come right now. There is no reason why a state can't do that now.
Why?
Okay, maniwala tayo sa demokrasya. Ako lang talaga, maniwala po sa demokrasya, kagandahan ng demokrasya. Pero wala na tayong ano. Okay, wala nang atrasan. So yan po. At least tayo ay makapaghanda mga suki, no? Ayan. So, sige. Okay, balikan po natin ibang balita, no?
Ang administration pinagbalita ay nalais ang naisipang kasalukuyan at nakapanahon. Makapolitika, makatingin, makakomentaryo at balita ang programa ito'y para sa lahat. Walang kinikilingan, walang kinakampihan, at walang kinapamigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kahanginan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, si Recep Tayyip Erdogan na lang ay may boses. Okay, lumaban po sa Israeli government at saka sa US. Si Recep Erdogan na lang, wala na iba. Yung iba, okay, tahimik mga suki, no? Okay, natatakot. Magkaroon sila ng stigma, mga suki, no? Okay. Itong Defense Secretary Grandshop, okay, sa UK ito, pakinggan natin naman kabilang panig, no? Ganun pang balita natin ay magkabilang panig. Sa gitna tayo, mga suki, no? Ayan. Sa ating solution, ayan. Ang panindigan po ng ADLSNTV News Online International ay manindigan po ng solution, no? Katagalan na natin tumulong sa kanila. Okay? Sige po, pakinggan natin, no? Haba naman ko niya. Okay, ayaw. Ayaw magbigay, nag-release. Okay, ng audio, mga suki, no? Okay, so wala tayong magawa. Ayan. Okay, cut natin. Ayaw po nila ano. Ayan. Ayan. Okay, ito mga suki, no? Okay, hindi maniwala daw mag-rule ang itong kaso po ng genocide. Okay, isang okay, tingnan natin kung ano sinasabi niya.
Institution of the United Nations, and it sits in cases where there are disputes between two states, where they're not able to reach an agreement about the interpretation of a treaty or something someone has done, or about where a border exists. They sometimes go to the International Court of Justice. It's made up of 15 judges who come from around the world, and it's a very highly respected and authoritative body.
Genocide in international law is a carefully framed term. What is genocide in the legal sense, and what is the case against Israel?
Okay, well, yes, genocide, it's a word that gets used widely and in a more colloquial sense, but there is a precise legal definition of it in the 1948 Convention on Genocide, and it requires that there be the intentional destruction of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, in other words, a people. And the courts have interpreted this definition rather narrowly, so that they require the destruction to be physical in nature. In other words, it's not just expulsion or assimilation, but it has to be destruction of a physical, with a physical dimension. So that's the basis of the claim that South Africa is making against Israel. And they're saying that Israel's military activity in Gaza is not actually directed primarily at trying to destroy Hamas, as Israel claims, but that it's actually directed at the civilian population with a view to driving them out of Gaza or letting them die from hunger, disease, and so on. So that's the basis of the case. The hearings that took place yesterday and the day before that have got so much attention are not always well understood. The court is not going to decide whether genocide took place based on those hearings. This is just a preliminary skirmish between the two sides, between South Africa and Israel, to determine whether the court should make a preliminary order against Israel to preserve the situation. It's like an injunction to kind of freeze the situation, limit further damage to the Palestinians, so that eventually the court can make a decision which might be 4 or 5 years down the line.
Before we get to what the court could do, let's take a step back, if you wouldn't mind. What is the basis of South Africa's claim? Because what we know is that we can't get independent journalists into Gaza to witness what has been happening. So what is the evidence upon which South Africa has built its allegation?
Well, obviously, South Africa has the same kind of sources that we have access to as well. So there are a range of UN reports that have come out of the various institutions within the United Nations, news media reports. Like probably many people, they watch Al Jazeera news and they get films from Gaza. So it's the kind of information, obviously, that's in the public domain. They have not filed their full case. So this is something that doesn't happen at the start of the proceedings. They kind of launch the proceedings, and then it's about 6 to 8 months that the president of the court will set the exact time for it. They have to submit their whole case, and then we'll see in full what all the evidence is that they may have.
So these are the opening salvos on both sides. As I understand it, what the South Africans essentially said is that the Israelis intentionally caused serious bodily or mental harm. They deliberately inflicted conditions on a group of people that are calculated to bring about physical destruction in whole or part. They've imposed measures intended to prevent births within the group and forcible transference of children. What has Israel's response been?
Basically, Israel, the way the hearing took place was that South Africa set out its case on Thursday. And all of the information that they gave, these categories you read, are drawn from the convention. They're mentioned in the Genocide Convention as acts of genocide. On Friday, Israel really concentrated, they devoted a lot of time to talking about the attack by Hamas in early October, and basically set out the claim that what they're doing in Gaza is a military operation, and that they are taking all appropriate care under international law to protect civilians from harm. That was the core of the argument. And they said that that there was no intent to destroy the Palestinian people. So this is one of the central issues in the genocide case, is proving that there's an intent to actually destroy the group, and that the killing is just not something that's incidental or related to some other purpose. And there they were confronted by the South Africans with some very, very aggressive and outrageous statements by Israeli prominent figures in Israel, some of them ministers and politicians. And Israel tried to take its distance from that, being dismissive, saying these were people who weren't in power or who weren't so influential. So they were on the defensive on that point, and their answer was simply, these are not statements that we can attribute to the government and don't indicate an intent to commit genocide.
Understood. So I'm crystal clear on this. What the South Africans claim is that there is clear intent by the Israelis. So does that mean that recklessness, behaving recklessly, the Israelis behaving recklessly, would not be enough to find them guilty of a genocidal act?
Yes, I think that's correct. Reckless conduct would not meet, it's a very, very high threshold for a conviction for finding a state to be responsible of genocide. It's like the beyond a reasonable doubt requirement, and it requires full criminal intent. But to win the case, this preliminary stage on the provisional measures, they don't have to reach that standard. All they have to do is establish that they have a plausible case. And in my opinion, they met that without any great difficulty. So they're probably, we'll wait for a decision. There'll be a decision from the court on the provisional measures, probably within 3 weeks. And my opinion is that they probably met the test, and they'll get an order from the court. And then there will be subsequent stages in the case going on for several years.
What can the court do? I understand this is a preliminary hearing, but what can the court actually do at the end of this preliminary round? Can it get Israel to stop bombing Gaza, for example?
It could order that to happen. In the case of Ukraine 2 years ago, the court ordered Russia to stop the invasion. Of course, Russia didn't comply with it. So there's a big issue of whether a state will comply with it or not. Depending on how strong the order is against Israel, we can speculate that if it's very strong, they will not be inclined to comply with it. Whereas there are more modest measures they could order that Israel might be able to live with. one of the problems that Israel is going to confront is that many of the countries that are very friendly to it, Western European countries, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, are very loyal to the court. And they are not going to be comfortable with Israel being too dismissive of something the court will do. So depending on what the order is, although it's not as if it can be enforced by some armed force going and moving into Israel, they'll be ordered to do it. They might defy it, but the more defiant they are, the more trouble they're going to have with their friends.
Does this really have any effect? Even if Israel is found, if South Africa's application is upheld and the court judges that Israel has committed genocide or is committing genocide, what actual impact does that have on anything, given what you've just said is that Israel could just ignore the finding?
It's a good question. It's a very legitimate question. Of course, there have been all kinds of measures taken at the international level, including Security Council resolutions to try and resolve the Middle East crisis, but they haven't worked. It's been festering for 75 years since the creation of the State of Israel. It's been a central issue in the United Nations, and there's no apparent resolution. Perhaps this will change the chemistry a little bit. I think that's about the most one can hope for. It's a piece of an ongoing crisis, and maybe it will contribute, and maybe it won't. That's the best that I can say. I'm an international lawyer. It's what I do for a living, so I'd like it to work. But and there are many examples where orders from the International Court of Justice have been effective in solving problems. But this problem is it's like no other problem, and not an easy one to solve. It may just amount to moving a pawn up one or two squares on the chessboard in a game that's far from finished.
Professor, one of the things that was mentioned repeatedly in the opening statement by the lawyer representing the South African government was the case of brought by Zambia against Myanmar in relation to the Rohingyas. You, of course, were one of the lawyers who defended Myanmar. Can you tell us a little bit about that case and what the outcome was?
Yes, it was filed by the Gambia, not by Zambia.
My mistake.
But it has many similarities with this case between South Africa and Israel in that it's filed by a state that had no. It's not what we call an injured state. It's not a state that has any particular. Has not experienced any particular violence or impact as a result of the act of genocide that they charge the other state with committing. So they're acting as kind of international altruists, taking up an issue and fighting in the interest of humanity, one could say, at the International Court of Justice. I'm not involved in the case anymore between Gambia and Myanmar. I was involved in the hearing that took place in December of 2019 that's very similar to the one that just took place. It was about the preliminary measures. And Myanmar fought hard, as I did. It was my job to defend them and to try and challenge in the same way that Israel did yesterday. But ultimately, because the threshold is quite low, obtaining the provisional measures order in the circumstances is not that difficult to get. And this is why I think from experience in that case, my assessment is that South Africa will be successful as well. It would be stunning if the International Court of Justice didn't follow an approach similar to the one that it took in the case between Gambia and Myanmar. That being said, Myanmar is a small, isolated country without a lot of friends. Israel is a powerful, powerful country with big, powerful friends around the world. So, international law is also, it's a politicized environment, and it's one where there are a lot of double standards. So we can't rule out the fact that the International Court of Justice might behave differently because of the parties and because of the sensitivity of the issue that's involved. None of that can be excluded, but it's a court that's made up of a cross-section of judges from around the world, and they reflect the diversity of views around the world as well, the political view. So there are judges from Western Europe and from the United States who will be inclined to be friendly towards Israel in its claims, and there are judges from the south, from Somalia, from India, from Uganda, from Jamaica, who will be perhaps more inclined to take a position that's that of many countries in the global south. But they're independent people.
Yes,
Sorry.
well, that was going to be my question, because surely this should be about the interpretation of the law rather than where you come from influencing that.
Yes, you're quite right. And the judges are independent and impartial, and I wouldn't want to suggest anything contrary to that. But they do reflect the cultures they come from. And that's part of the idea of the International Court of Justice, actually. It's not premised on the idea that you can get 15 judges who have been kind of neutralized so much that they don't reflect the cultures or anything. They are meant to reflect, to some extent, the cultures and the views of the countries where they come from, while at the same time behaving as an independent, impartial, and objective matter. I know it's a complicated idea.
Okay, natapos din. Salamat. Anong oras na natin, no? Okay, anong oras na natin? Okay, tingnan natin po ang relo natin. Okay, 46 minutos po. Pasado na po alas 7. Okay, kunti na lang po nalalabi. Okay, ang ang nalalabi sa oras, no? Pero hindi na kaya ito. Ayan. Kahit na matagal, parinig natin, no? Okay. Okay, the evidence is chilling. The evidence is chilling. South African lawyers, okay, incredible speech accusing Israel of genocide, no? Okay, pakinggan natin. Ayan. Huwag tayo matulog muna, no?
Madam President and distinguished members of the court, it is a privilege to appear before the court on behalf of South Africa. I will address Israel's genocidal intent. At this stage, the court is not required to determine that the only inference to be drawn from the available evidence is genocidal to order provisional measures, as that is to decide the merits. Rather, the assessment of the existence of an intent to destroy could be made by the court only at the stage of the examination of the merits. That some of the alleged acts may also amount to atrocities other than genocide does not exclude
Female
the
voice.
finding of plausible acts
Male
of
voice.
genocide.
Lolly voice.
Madam President,
Monster voice.
South Africa is not alone in drawing attention to Israel's genocidal rhetoric against Palestinians in Gaza. 15 United Nations special rapporteurs and 21 members of the United Nations working groups have warned that what is happening in Gaza reflects a genocide in the making and an overt intent to destroy the Palestinian people under occupation. Israel has a genocidal intent against the Palestinians in Gaza. That is evident from the way in which Israel's military attack is being conducted, which has been described by Ms. Hassim SC. It is systematic in its character and form. The mass displacement of the population of Gaza, headed into areas where they continue to be killed, and the deliberate creation of conditions that, quote, lead to a slow death, unquote. There is also the clear pattern of conduct, the targeting of family homes and civilian infrastructure, laying waste to vast areas of Gaza, and the bombing, shelling, and sniping of men, women, and children where they stand the destruction of the health infrastructure, and lack of access to humanitarian assistance. So much so that as we stand today, 1% of the Palestinian population in Gaza has been systematically decimated since 7 October. These two elements alone are capable of evidencing Israel's genocidal intent in relation to the whole or part of the Palestinian population in Gaza. However, third, there is an extraordinary feature in this case, that Israel's political leaders, military commanders, and persons holding official positions have systematically and in explicit terms declared their genocidal intent. And these statements are then repeated by soldiers on the ground in Gaza as they engage in the destruction of Palestinians and the physical infrastructure of Gaza. We show this third element next. Israel's special genocidal intent is rooted in the belief that, in fact, the enemy is not just the military wing of Hamas, or indeed Hamas generally, but is embedded in the fabric of Palestinian life in Gaza. On 7 October, in a televised address, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared war on Gaza, and I quote, "Israel had started clearing out the communities that have been infiltrated by terrorists." And he warned of an unprecedented price to be paid by the enemy. There are more than 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza. Israel is the occupying power in control of Gaza. It controls entry, exit, and the internal movements of inside Gaza. And qua Prime Minister, Mr. Netanyahu exercises overall command over the Israeli Defense Force and in turn, the Palestinians in Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu, in his address to the Israeli forces on 28 October 2023, preparing for the invasion of Gaza, urged the soldiers to remember what Amalek has done to you. This refers to the biblical command by God to Saul for the retaliatory destruction of an entire group of people known as the Amalekites, put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. The genocidal invocation to Amalek was anything but idle. It was repeated by Mr. Netanyahu in a letter to the Israeli Armed Forces on 3 November 2023. Madam President, let the Prime Minister's words speak for themselves.
To you, says our Holy Bible, and we do remember and we are fighting our brave troops and combatants who are now in Gaza or around Gaza.
Okay.
The Deputy Speaker of the Knesset, Israel's parliament, has called for the erasure of the Gaza Strip from the face of the earth. The Defense Force agrees. On 9 October, the Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, gave a situation update to the army, where he said that as Israel was imposing a complete siege on Gaza, there would be no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything would be closed because Israel is fighting human animals. Speaking to troops on the Gaza border, he instructed them that he has released all the restraints and that Gaza won't return to what it was before. We will eliminate everything. We will reach all places. eliminate everything, reach all places without any restraints. The theme of destruction of human animals was reiterated by an Israeli army coordinator of government activities in the territories on 9 October 2023, who, in an address to Hamas and the residents of Gaza, stated that Hamas has become ISIS and that the citizens of Gaza are celebrating instead of being horrified. He concluded that human animals are dealt with accordingly. Israel has imposed a total blockade on Gaza. No electricity, no water, just damage. You wanted hell, you will get hell. The language of systematic dehumanization is evident here. Human animals, both Hamas and civilians, are condemned. Within the Israeli cabinet, this is also a widely held view. The Minister of Energy and Infrastructure, Israel Katz, called for the denial of water and fuel, as this is what will happen to a people of children killers and slaughterers. This admits of no ambiguity. It means to create conditions of death of the Palestinian people in Gaza. To die a slow death because of starvation and dehydration, or to die quickly because of a bomb attack or snipers, but to die nevertheless. In fact, Heritage Minister Amichai Eliyahu said that Israel must find ways for Gazans that are more painful than death. It is no answer to say that neither are in command of the army. They are ministers in the Israeli government. They vote in the Knesset and are in a position to shape state policy. The intent to destroy Gaza has been nurtured at the highest levels of state, as President Isaac Herzog has joined the ranks of those signing bombs destined for Gaza. Having previously noted that the entire population in Gaza is responsible and that this rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved is absolutely not true, we will fight until we break their backbone. Later attempts by the president and others to neutralize this speech have not altered the sting of his words, which was to tar all Palestinians as responsible for the actions of Hamas. Nor, as I will show below, has it affected how state policy is understood within government. The Minister of National Security repeated the president's statements that Hamas and civilians are responsible in equal measure. On 10 November 2023, in a televised interview, he stated that when we say that Hamas should be destroyed, it also means those who celebrate, those who support, and those who hand out candy. They are all terrorists, and they should also be destroyed. These are orders to destroy and to maim what cannot be destroyed. These statements are not open to neutral interpretations or after-the-fact rationalizations and reinterpretations by Israel. The statements were made by persons in command of the state. They communicated state policy. It is simple. If the statements were not intended, they would not have been made. The genocidal intent behind these statements is not ambiguous to the Israeli soldiers on the ground. Indeed, it is directing their actions and objectives. On 7 December 2023, Israeli soldiers proved that they understood the Prime Minister's message to remember what the Amalek has done to you as genocidal. They were recorded by journalists dancing and singing. We know our motto, there are no uninvolved, that they obey one commandment, to wipe off the seed of Amalek. The Prime Minister's invocation of Amalek is being used by soldiers to justify the killing of civilians, including children. These are the soldiers repeating the inciting words of their Prime Minister.
Okay, sa salitang kanta ng Hudyo, okay, sabi po ng abogado ito, ay inciting po ang kanta na yun, no? Amali, anong amali? Okay, amali. Okay, salitang Hudyo mga suki, no? So sabi niya, itong nagsabi ito ay inciting. Okay. O, lagyan natin po accordingly, inciting. Okay, para safe tayo, no? Okay. Di umano, allegedly, accordingly, inciting. So, libre na tayo, no? Ayan.
Female voice. Female voice. Male voice. Lally voice. Monster voice.
Israeli soldiers in Gaza were filmed dancing, chanting, and singing in November. May their village bend, may Gaza be erased. There is now a trend among the soldiers to film themselves committing atrocities.
Okay, yun palang kanta yun para ma-erase po ang Gaza, no? Ang Gaza Strip sa Gaza City. Yung meaning po ng kanta na yun, okay, para ma-erase po ang Gaza Strip, mga suki, no? Translation, okay, ng salitang nila. Ayan. So, basis for, okay, genocide, mga suki, no?
Against civilians in Gaza, in a form of snuff video. One recorded himself detonating over 50 houses in Shujaiya. Other soldiers were recorded singing, "We will destroy all of Khan Yunis and this house. We will blow it up for you and for everything you do for us." These are the soldiers putting into effect their command. בעזרת השם יהיה לכם. מדהים. 30 בתים. גדוד 749. כאן. The commanders of the army are also of the same mind. Israeli army commander Yair Ben David has stated that the army had done in Beit Hanon and did there as Shimon and Levi did in Nablus, and that the entire Gaza should resemble Beit Hanon. Israeli soldier Yeshaya Shalev published a video against the backdrop of the ruins of what was the site of Al-Azhar University with the caption, "Once upon a time, there was a university in Gaza, and in practice, a school for murderers and human animals." Soldiers obviously believe that this language and their actions are acceptable because the destruction of Palestinian life in Gaza is articulated state policy. Senior political and military officials encouraged without censure the 95-year-old Israeli army reservist Ezra Yachin, a veteran of the Deir Yassin massacre against the Palestinians in 1948, to speak to the soldiers ahead of the ground invasion in Gaza. In his talk, he echoed the same sentiment while being driven around in an officially Israeli army vehicle dressed in Israeli army fatigue. I quote, "Be triumphant and finish them off, and don't leave anyone behind. Erase the memory of them. Erase them, their families, mothers, and children. These animals can no longer live. If you have an Arab neighbor, don't wait. Go to his home. and shooting. We want to invade, not like before. We want to enter and destroy what's in front of us, and destroy houses, then destroy the one after it. With all of our forces, complete destruction, enter and destroy. As you can see, we will witness things we've never dreamed of. Let them drop bombs on them and erase them. As recently as 7 January 2024, a video of a soldier was posted online where he boasts that the army had destroyed the entire village of Hibat Azar. For 2 weeks, he said, they had worked hard to bomb the village and executed their mandate. Any suggestion that senior politicians did not mean what they said, much less that the meaning was not understood by soldiers in Gaza, would be without any merit. The scale of destruction in Gaza, the mass targeting of family homes and civilians, the war being a war on children, all make clear that genocidal intent is both understood and is being put into practice. The articulated intent is the destruction of Palestinian life in all its manifestations. The genocidal rhetoric is also commonplace within the Israeli Knesset. Members of the Knesset have repeatedly called for Gaza to be wiped out, flattened, erased, and crushed on all its inhabitants. They have deplored anyone feeling sorry for the uninvolved Gazans, asserting repeatedly that there are no uninvolved, that there are no innocents in Gaza, that the killers of the women and children should not be separated from the citizens of Gaza, and that the children of Gaza have brought this upon themselves, and that there should be one sentence for everyone there, death. Finally, the lawmakers have called for mercilessly bombing from the air, with some advocating for the use of nuclear doomsday weapons, and a Nakba that will overshadow the Nakba of 48. The Prime Minister's genocidal speech has gained ground among some elements of civil society. A famous singer has repeated Mr. Netanyahu's Amalek reference, stating that Gaza must be wiped out and be destroyed with every Amalek seed. We simply must destroy all of Gaza and exterminate everyone who is there. Another has called to erase Gaza, not leave a single person there. Journalists and commentators have announced that the woman is an enemy, the baby is an enemy, the pregnant woman is an enemy. That it is necessary to turn the strip into a slaughterhouse, to demolish every house our soldiers come across, exterminate everyone. The intentional failure of the government of Israel to condemn, prevent, and punish such genocidal incitement constitutes in itself a grave violation of the Genocide Convention. We should recall, Madam President, that in Article 1 of the Convention, Israel confirmed that genocide, whether committed in time of peace or in time of war, is a crime under international law. And it undertook to prevent and to punish it as such. This failure to prevent, condemn, and punish such speech by the government has served to normalize genocidal rhetoric and extreme danger for Palestinians within Israeli society. As MK Moshe Sada from the Likud party has said, the government's own attorneys share his views that Palestinians in Gaza must be destroyed. I quote, "You go anywhere and they tell you to destroy them. In the kibbutz, they tell you to destroy them. My friends at the state attorney's office who fought with me on political issues in debate said to me, it is clear that we need to destroy all Gazans. Destroy all Gazans." Israel is aware of its destruction of Palestinian life and infrastructure. Despite this knowledge, it has maintained and indeed intensified its military activity in Gaza. As to full awareness, in the week after 7 October, NGOs and the United Nations warned of an unprecedented humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The UN stated that actors must allow humanitarian teams and goods to immediately and safely reach the hundreds of thousands of people in need. So right from the beginning, Israel knew that it was depriving water, food, electricity, and essentials for survival. It said so. Everything is closed. It has known that it was depriving Palestinians of healthcare and treatment for injury in the middle of an unprecedented bombardment, of food and water, and of other essentials for survival. This prompted the World Health Organization to say, "We are on our knees asking for sustained, scaled up, protected humanitarian operations, appealing to all those in a situation to make a decision or influence decision makers to give us the humanitarian space to address this human catastrophe." Despite this knowledge, Israel continues to target infrastructure essential for survival: water and sanitation infrastructure, solar panels, bakeries, mills, crops. It bombs hospitals, decimating the healthcare system. It targets aid workers and the infrastructure of the United Nations. It is because of the policy of Israel that Gaza has become a place of death and despair. In conclusion, Madam President, many propagators of grave atrocities have protested that they were misunderstood, that they did not mean what they said, and that their own words were taken out of context. What state would admit to a genocidal intent? Yet, the distinctive feature of this case has not been the silence as such, but the reiteration and repetition of genocidal speech throughout every sphere of state in Israel. We remind the court of the identity and authority of the genocidal inciters: the Prime Minister, the President, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of National Security, the Minister of Energy and Infrastructure, members of the Knesset, senior army officials, and foot soldiers. Genocidal utterances are therefore not out in the fringes. They are embodied in state policy. The intent to destroy is plainly understood by soldiers on the ground. It is also fully understood by some within the Israeli society, with the government facing criticism for allowing in any aid to Gaza on the basis that it is recanting on its promise to starve Palestinians. Any suggestion that Israeli officials did not mean what they said, or were not fully understood by soldiers and civilians alike to mean what they said, should be rejected by this court. The evidence of genocidal intent is not only chilling, it is also overwhelming and incontrovertible.
Okay, wala na. Okay, wala na ata, no? Wala na. Okay, salamat. Okay. So, mag-break muna tayo and then babalik tayo sa air, no? Overtime na sobra na. Okay, ito po. Okay, pakinggan natin po ang report ni Tarhata Abdul Karim from Cotabato City, mga kababayan, no? Okay, tingnan natin kung anong balita niya doon. Okay? Sige na.
Assalamualaikum Sir At. Pasensya na, hindi mo na ako nakareport kasi binatrangkaso ko.
Ala.
Nasa-short voice ako.
Sige, sige.
Mag-report ako, mas lalong lalala itong court ko. Kaya kasi malakas ang ulan dito. So, uso ngayon yung trangkaso. Hindi mo na ako mag-report. Pasensya na. Pero gagawa rin ako ng written report sa ADLSNTV. And pag okay na ito, bukas or sa ibang araw, i-report lahat. Salamat. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. So, bukas na. So, may tinamaan po ng ano, no? Okay, walking pneumonia. Diba? Katakot, no? Meron pala walking pneumonia. Okay, so, hindi, anong balita natin? Okay, sa gabing ito, okay, i-kuan natin, i-break muna natin. Magandang t-shirt ko, no? Ayan, no? Magandang t-shirt. Inutang po doon sa tindahan. Ayan. Okay, boys, welcome new finance chief, no? Itong si Finance Secretary OIC po, si Rap Recto, no? Okay, so adios. Okay, bye-bye na si Benjamin Joklo, no? Mahaba rin ng kasaysayan niya sa government service, public service, mga suki, no? Okay. So, wala akong masabi kay Secretary Benjamin Joklo, no? Okay, palagay ko pa-exit na. Okay, punta na po sa private citizen, mga suki, no? Okay. Parang mga advisor. Okay, magaling mag-advise. Okay, mga suki, mga kababayan, basahin po natin itong si Secretary Ralph Recto, asawa po ni Vilma Santos, mga kababayan, no? Saan ba si Vilma Santos ngayon? Anong position sa government, no? Okay, the Philippine Stock Exchange Incorporated, PSZ, on Sunday said it was confident that Finance Secretary Ralph Recto, leadership would help lift the country's economic growth and boost investor confidence. Tingnan natin po, mga suki, no? The board of directors and management congratulate the Honorable Ralph G. Recto. On his appointment as Secretary of the Department of Finance and the board operator said in a statement. So, okay, yung mga security, okay, security, yung mga broker, ay welcome po itong si Secretary Recto, no? Ayan. Okay, ituloy natin ang balita. Sandali lang. Okay, hanap karugtong ng balita, no? Okay, well, we extend our full support and the best wishes to Secretary Recto in his new role and look forward to working with him in introducing reform to further develop the Philippine capital market. Okay, the PSE added, mga kababayan, na Philippine Stock Exchange added, no? Kasi yung mga pribadong kumpanya, okay, kumukuha po ng pondo dyan, no? Yung mga public listing company, okay, ay kukuha po ng capital, okay, sa Philippine Stock Exchange Index, no? Ganun yan. Kaya mabilis po ang mga corporation, okay, ang pag-asenso kung maging public listing. Marami lang requirement, no? Okay. Kailangan ata may 50 million na yung mga maliliit na public listed company. Okay. Sinabi yun, ano na, kung hindi ko nakalimutan po, sinabi po ni, okay, itong chair po ng CEC, okay, Security Exchange Commission, nung dito po mag-roadmap, okay, sa Palacio del Sur, Zamboanga City, no? Okay. So, pag may structure mo, yung kumpanya mo, and then ma-meet mo requirement, kailangan may mga yung maliliit na 50 million ba yan? O 500 million? I-check ko lang ang record ko, no? Okay, the boards join other in welcoming the appointment of Recto formally, House Deputy Speaker, and Batangas representative who took his oath last Friday, no? Akong binabantayan ko lang Maharlika Pan, mga suki, no? Yung Maharlika Pan Corporation, okay, yan lang tutukan ko ng ano. Ayan. Kasi meron mga rin mga controversy. Okay, mga suki, mga kababayan. Yung biglaan po pagtanggal kay okay, pagtanggal po kay Secretary Jokno, no? Okay, so lahat tayo tutok dyan po sa Maharlika Investment Fund, no? Sa Maharlika Investment Corporation. Ayan. Kasi po, hindi po politiko si talagang career. Kaya gusto ko si Jokno, is a career, okay, Philippine technocrat, mga suki, no? Hindi siya politiko. Ayan. Itong si Recto ay isang politician, mga suki, no? Ayan. Okay, the boards join others in welcoming the appointment of Recto, formerly House Deputy Speaker, Batangas representative who took his oath last Friday. Okay, after initially declining to comment on report last Thursday that Recto was the new finance chief business chambers. The following day connected Jokno for doing a good job and also express support for his successor, no? Okay, politician ito si Recto, mga suki, no? Okay, so okay, Raisa Robles, ay huwag kang pikit-pikit yan po sa Metro Manila, no? Kung meron kang masilip, and then bato mo sa akin, Raisa Robles, no? Malayo ako. Dito po ako sa Mindanao, Raisa Robles, no? Ang pag-asa ko lang mga alam na. Ayan. Okay, Senator Recto is perfectly suited for the job. Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry President Yunina Mangkyo said in a statement on Friday, no? Okay, kabado na ko Raisa Robles, no? Talaga, kabado ko. Ayan. Ayang mga bagong composition po ng itong Marcos administration, no? Okay. So, sige. He has the experience, expertise, and the political backing that are critical if he's to oversee the strengthening of the country economic and fiscal position. She added, Jokto, meanwhile, was lauded for doing an exemplary job leading the Department of Finance, okay, European Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, Executive Director Florian Gotain said Recto's leadership would be pivotal. Okay, while Chris Nelson, Executive Director of the British Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, said he would be a valuable addition to the economic team of the country. Ayan po. So, sige. Okay, basta wala namang hocus-pocus, ay wala tayong problema mga sukino. Pero pag may hocus-pocus, yun ang nakakatakot na. Okay, Raisa Robles. Okay, American Chamber of Commerce of the Philippine Executive. Okay, Director Ed Hinscliffe. Tama ba ko? Hinscliffe. Okay, Ed Hinscliffe said he is looking forward to working with the Secretary Recto as his extensive experience is critical for a fiscal and economic reform. No? Ang katakutan natin kasi yung mga pondo ay may bulsa po masaipon okay, sa ibang bansa mga suki. No? Okay, yan ang kinatakutan po natin. Okay, itong pondo po ng central bank mga suki. No? Okay, baka masaipon. Okay, kabado lang tayo, no? Baka masaipon. Okay, mapunta po sa ibang pondo ng bayan sa ibang bansa mga suki, no? Okay, Italian Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines Executive Director Lorenz Seiler, meanwhile, said he was surprised by the appointment, but added that he remained confident that the government would continue doing good work. No? Okay, may voice out kasi si Amy Marcos. No? Senator Amy Marcos. Okay. Nung panahon po ni matagal humawak po ng kwarta ng bayan ng Pilipinas. Okay, itong si Benjamin Jokno, no? Okay, sa tagal ng kanyang panungkulan, wala kang masabi sa kanya, no? Ayan. Wala tayong masabi. Ayan. As much as possible ay transparency mga kababayan, no? Okay. So, yun lang mga stigma natin. Okay, sa bagong tempo ng pamalan, no? We had the impression that Jokno was doing a great job. Seiler said, we remain confident that the president and his team will continue the good work shown until today, he added. Ayan po mga suki, no? Marami rin maghinayang po kay Secretary Jokno, no? Okay, Edgar Chua, chairman of the Makati Business Club, also expressed gratitude to Jokno and bow to work closely with the President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. new cabinet appointees. Ayan po mga suki, no? Ayan. Kaya magaling, tapos pinalitan, no? Okay, si Jok, no? Magaling na secretary and then pinalitan mga suki, no? So anong mga kadahilanan po, no? We look forward to working with him, other recent appointees, such as the Presidential Special Assistant, Frederick Go, and Agriculture Secretary, okay, Francis Laurel, and the rest of the economic team, Chua said. Okay, the Banker Association of the Philippines, BAP, also welcomed Rector, saying he was an ideal fit and commended Jokno for his work, no? Okay. So wala tayong masabi, no? Okay? Okay, the former Finance Chief BAP President, okay, Jose Teodoro Limcauco, said Jokno was a key figure in steering our economy throughout various challenging times, and as such, his leadership has led to a Philippine that is poised to further grow in the years to come, no? Kaya yun ang magtataka. Magaling nga performance ni Jokno. Okay, bakit pinalitan mga suki, no? Doon ako nagbase po sa statement po ni Jaime Marcos, no? Senator Jaime Marcos. As for this succession, Limcauco said, the country needs an experienced economist who can navigate the outgoing challenges of this operating environment, and a Secretary Recto is an ideal fit for this job. Okay, no problem po mga suki, no? Okay, Recto is known for pushing economic reform, including the 2005 Expanded Value Added Tax Act that cost him a Senate seat in 2007 between serving as Batangas representative and a senator. He also briefly was a socio-economic planning secretary under the Arroyo administration, no? Tauhan pala ito ni Arroyo ng panahon, no? Jokno, who served as a budget secretary during the Estrada and Duterte administration, was formerly Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas chief before he was tapped by the Marcos to head the finance department. Okay, talk that he could be replaced, okay, mounted after he expressed surprise in September over Marcos' decision, okay, to cut prices and also warn against the Congress move to suspend the fuel taxes. May statement to, no? Okay, yung price cap po ng bigas mga suki, parang nag-object po si Secretary Jokno, no? Ayan. Tapos binanatan po mga suki, alam mo na. Ayan. Yung kasabihan po ng langgam, okay, dumadaan po sa bato, hindi mo makikita. Yon ang pinakamabigat po sa mga politiko mga suki, no? Maraming langgam dumadaan sa bato, hindi mo makikita, no? Kasi maitim ang langgam. Yung langgam na itim. And then bato, maitim. And then pupunta po sa palasyo. Yan po ang pinaka-problema mga suki, no? Ayan mga suki, mga kababayan, adios. Napakagaling na Finance Secretary po Benjamin Jokno, no? Okay. Salamat po, okay, sa yung mahabang panahon sa kasaysayan, pag-serve po sa ating bansa, no? Okay. Napakahabang panahon, no? Ang naiambag, okay, naitulong Secretary, magaling na secretary ng UP, galing sa UP, si Professor, okay, Benjamin Diokno, no? Wala tayong masabi. Ayan. So, wala na kong balita. Ito na lang po mga kababayan. Ito na. Ayan. Ako haka-haka lang yun, no? Mga haka-haka na malapit sa mga ganun ba? Okay. Ayan. Wala tayong mga opinion lang mga suki, no? Okay.
Female voice, male voice, lolly voice, monster voice.
Awesome! Awesome! Awesome!
Okay, sandali lang matapos ang balita natin. Paalam tayo, mag-extra tayo. Okay, sa gabing ito mga kababayan. Ayan. Okay, saan ka na?
Administration bilang balita ay tumatalakay sa may subang kasalukuyan at napapanahon. Makapolitika, makatingnan, makakomentaryo at balita ang programa ito'y para sa lahat. Walang pinikilingan, walang pinakampisan, at walang pinapamigan ang programa ito. Ang programa ito ay public service sa kakamilan at trabaho lamang.
Okay, kaya ako, bihira ako maglapit-lapit sa mga politiko mga suki, no? Yun po ay naayawan ko. Okay, kunting pagkamali mo lang, makapagsalita ka lang ng, okay, ng lihis. Okay, wala ka na. Kaya nga, bihira ako maglapit sa mga politiko mga suki, no? Okay, sa pagkatao ko. Mas gusto ko pa manatili po sa microphone kaysa maglapit-lapit po sa mga politiko mga suki, no? Nakita niyo ba ako maglapit-lapit? Okay, bihira mga suki, no? Ayan. Okay, dito po ka sa Consolidated News natin sa gabing ito, mahabang programa natin. Okay, nakaubos tayo ng 1 oras, 32 minutos, 23 segundo mga kababayan, no? Okay, tinek ko yung record mga suki. Ayan. Okay, dito po sa ADLSNTV Corporation. Okay, kahit ganito-ganito lang, no? Okay. Corporation, mga kababayan, no? Hindi natin ipagkailan na talagang corporation. Okay, dito po sa programa Halo-Halo Special Opinion Balita at iba pa. Kasama po sa Bisyo Publiko Tinig ng Mamamayan. And then, sumbungan ng mamamayan, no? Okay. So, narinig po niya, iparinig ko ng mga audio tungkol po sa genocide case. Okay, cases. Dapat cases, no? Okay, ni Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, no? Walang humpay, pagpatay po ng mga taong Palestino, mga suki, no? So, naabot din niya. Okay, ang question ko lang, okay, maabot kaya siya malagay sa behind bar? Okay, and then holding a stainless bar? Or steel bar? That is my question tonight, no? Okay. That is my question tonight. Okay. Kaya po na ng okay, ICJ na maikulong po si Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at saka itong nila Yoav Galan ng Defense Secretary at saka itong mga war cabinet niya, no? Okay, and then kasama po yung mga complicit nila Joe Biden, nila Blinken, at saka itong si Rishi Sunak, mga kababayan, no? Ng Britain. Ayan. Kasi yung mga magsuporta ba? Okay. Walang awa po na kahit durog-durog na ang Gaza Strip, Gaza City, walang awa mga suki, no? Okay, dapat para meron silang aral na huwag gawin po ng ganun, no? Okay, pagpatay, ng mga civilian, mga suki, no? Bata, bagit 21,000 po namatay dyan, no? Ang programa natin ay focus pa rin sa, hindi tayo magkamali, focus sa kapayapaan pa rin, no? Okay, sa kapayapaan po ng buong daigdig. Kaya nga, maingay tayo rito sa microphone, mga suki, no? Ayan. Tayo ay magmamahal po sa kapayapaan. Wala tayong, hindi naman tayo makakuha dito. Wala tayong makuha dito. Okay, hindi tayo makakuha ng yumaman dito. Okay, voluntaryo gawain po mga suki. Okay, tungkol sa kapayapaan. No? Okay. Paalam tayo, mga kababayan, sa gabing ito. Ayan. Okay, ang programa po ay pinupundahan po ng Mind of Global Food Lines Corporation. No? Okay, itong t-shirt galing po ito sa Mind of Global. Ang ganda, oh. Okay, ang gandang sa katawan. Ayan. Okay. So, wala tayong masamang tinapay. Magpaalam tayo, babalik tayo bukas. And then, this has been Abs Lamahan lamang po, no? Bye-bye na. Okay, pahinga kunti and then magbasa-basa. And then, yun naman ang may topic natin bukas, no? Bye-bye na. Okay.